life is full of mistakes. It's all about learning from them mistakes. So today, I'm back in the garden of True Canna Genetics. I really like this spot. It's got a nice feel to it. It's got fruit trees in here. It's got a nice selection of different plants. A couple of months ago we layered this garden with various manures, green waste, and then just topped it with straw. Also added a few amendments. I can't do this. Right, start again, Lonnie. Back in the garden at True Canna Genetics today, which I'm really happy about. Been on the road quite a lot over the last couple of days. I've travelled all the way from the Basque Country, which was 400 kilometres, back home to go and get more amendments, get my life in order, get the van in order, come and see a few friends, which has been super good. Now I'm back up at Barcelona, and I've popped in to see my friend Barry from True Canna Genetics. We're getting busy in his garden today. He's had a few problems with plants that have suffered some serious heat stress. We've been growing them on, he has been growing them on the roof, and we had a really hot spell at the start of the year, which gave a lot of farmers a lot of problems, both cannabis, fruit, trees. Peach industry is fucked in Spain because of how hot it's been, and it's been really bad for the flowers, and no flowers, no fruit. And it's been exactly the same for the cannabis industry. Cannabis inside growers and outside growers, that hot snap at the beginning of the season really hurt a lot of farmers. So we've gone from really, this is just a plant that's been struggling because the roots are cooking, going for really hot temperatures. Plants that are in bigger pots have seemed to be a lot more resistant to the heat stress. And I always say this to people: you can't get bigger enough pots. The bigger the pot, the more nutrients, the more protection the root system's got, and the rhizosphere's got from heat and any other type of stresses. And you don't have to water your plants as much. So win-win. Bigger pots, less hassle. That's my opinion. So today all I'm going to be doing, digging holes, hitting it with some dry amendments. This is my favourite company on the market. I really like these. Dragonfly Earth Medicine. I cannot rave enough about this. Anybody that doesn't know about growing with living soil, bacterias, enzymes, fucking hell, the list is endless. If you don't know about these things and you want to know about these things, these are the people to follow. Have a look at some of the cinemas, have a look at the YouTube channel. Really get stuck into these people. I cannot rate them enough. And they don't just sell the products, they will tell you how to make all this stuff yourself. And if you haven't got time, then you can buy the stuff off them. And there's not many companies doing that this day and age. American company, everything's in glass, so it's a little bit expensive, and that's why it's so expensive, because the shipping costs, the import costs, and they're doing it right. They're putting in glass, so it's heavy, unfortunately. So I know a lot of people moan, a lot of Europeans moan about the price of this stuff, but you've got to take them factors into consideration. And if you're moaning about it, get off your lazy fucking arse and make it yourself. The information's there, they tell you straight how to do it. No other company's doing that. So really rate these. They give out so much information, and I'd rate them as probably the top of the game. They are so clued up, and they're a couple, which goes a long way. All you need is love, you know. Very important, love. Next things I'll be putting in today, worm castings. Can't rave enough about worm castings. God's fertilizers. I'm sure you've all heard me say this before, but God's fertilizers. These are my own worm castings. So from my own worm farm, I know exactly what's been in there. I know what they've fed. I know the stuff works. I know it's not boshed with anything else. good stuff, the good stuff. God's fertilizers. You could probably go start to finish on this stuff. Maybe hit it with a couple of worm casting seeds, some enzymes, coconut water. Worm castings, amazing. This one, little special one, this one. So while I was on my travels in the Basque Country, anywhere I went where I really liked the growth and the soil and how special it was, then I just collect some loamy material from that area. And as I'm doing that, I'm collecting all the microlife, all the microbacteria. I'm collecting everything that makes plants grow in that area. I'm collecting it in this bag, and then I'm going to put that into this garden. So the magic of the Basque Country is now in this beautiful little spot in Catalonia. Fucking hot today. Nothing I recommend. A lot of people overlook it, but a hat. When it's hot outside and you know you're going to be in the heat all day long, wear a hat. It will make your job a lot easier and pleasurable. Being out in this sun with it penetrating onto your skull, it's no joy. It's no joy at all. It is not fun working in these conditions without being in the shade, without some type of head cover. I know a lot of people laugh at this, but I spent a full season in Spain without a hat on until one day my landlord seeing me, who's like an 80-year-old gardener, he come down and he gave me a hat, big straw hat like this. I was like, I'm not wearing that. I'm like a fucking idiot. Put it on, I was like, oh my god, how much refreshing is that? I'm constantly in the shade, it's easy to work, and it's not wearing you out. The whole reason that we should be doing this is it should be a pleasure, it should be a joy. It shouldn't be a chore. It shouldn't be something that hurts you, something you're like, oh, I've got to do this. You know? It's not work if it's fun. If it's a pleasure, if you're enjoying it, it ain't work. So hats are important. So, I suppose we better get these in the ground then. There's a couple of plants here that I just really like to say as well. Props to Barry from Toucan Genetics. He's given me his worst plants to put on camera. A lot of farmers won't do that. They only want to show you the best of what they're doing, and that's not the way you learn. I'm really happy that he's committed to that. It shows his lack of ego. But you know, there's a lot of us farmers, we're out there, we're doing our best, and it just sometimes doesn't work, and that can be soul destroying. And we just want to show people that even the best in the trade, even, you know, we have problems. It doesn't go right for us all the time, but it's really important that you learn why it doesn't go right and what the reasons are for it going right or wrong. Life is full of mistakes. It's all about learning from them mistakes. This is one. This is one. This is probably one of the worst ones for me. And it's just a simple case of, again, look at the plant, give it a little shake and a wobble. If that's really loose, you know it's got a really poor root system. So you've got a rhizophyre. That's the crown of the root. If that's not happy, then you'll get your wobble on that. If it is happy, that'll be solid. That won't wobble, it'll bend. So for me, that's the first little test to see how happy the root system is. Little wobble there, no, the rhizophyre is not gripping onto that soil correctly. So if that part's unhealthy, you know the rest of the root system's unhealthy. We've put this down to heat stress. We know the soil's good, we know the seeds are good, we know the genetics are good. A small pot like this, I can just about touch that, it's that hot. So we've baked the plant. The plant's been baked. We've decided, a lot of growers will throw these away, start again, be very disheartened. You know, they're the same plants. What's the difference? The root zone is cool. The root zone's cooler on this one than it is on this one. So it's just about reading the environment, sitting down, smoking a joint, having a think about things. Oh, that was good fun, that was today. Managed to get a fair few plants in of both food and cannabis. Now, every garden I ever come to is different. All the gardens are different, the soils are different. the terrain is different, so I have different wind to deal with. I've got different soils to deal with, different light intensities to deal with. Up in the mountains in Catalunya, I had 2 gardens. One was my garden, one was my brother's garden. 10 minutes away from each other, completely different. One garden was so hot, ridiculously hot, because it was like in a valley, and it seemed like the mountains reflected the intensity of the sun rays into that valley, and it was like a microwave. And then my garden that was on top of the hill was nice and breezy, but the soil was shit. So you've got to take this on board. All gardens are completely different, and I meet so many gardeners that think they know it all, and they probably do know it all for their garden. They'll probably hit the nail on the head in their garden, and what they think is golden knowledge is golden knowledge just for their environment. It's not necessarily going to work anywhere else. So I always encourage people to, when you do it, when you are gardening, when you're working out in the garden, don't do it stoned. Don't be drinking. You know, you want to be picking up on stuff. You want to be right, why is this different to this? Why is every action has a reaction? You know, there's reasons, and there's a lot you can learn in your garden. And if you're high, you're not gonna pick up on as much, which is, you know, you get 1 chance a year at this, so you want to be learning as much as possible from it. So I'm just going to run through today what I have learned today. So a few things I've noticed today. First, number 1 issue was the condition of the plants. I really wanted to know why the plants were the way they were. Forgive all the pots, we've had to leave the pots next to the plants so we know what they are, because it's wrote on the pot what the actual variety is. So first issue was, what is wrong with these plants? Why are these plants yellowing off the way they're doing? Looks like they're suffering from nitrogen deficiency, just general deficiencies. So for me, the first thing I think of is root problems. Nutrients come in through the roots, feed the plant. If the plants can't get nutrients, then there's a reason for that, and it usually comes down to root issues. Second thing I ask myself is, right, why is there a root issue? Why are the roots not happy? Why aren't they growing? And I put that down to heat. Now, I know what the situation is here. We had a really hot period beginning of the season. So the gardener has been flooding pots with water to keep them moist, which is what you have to do because they're small pots and they'll dry up really quick. So that water has got really hot and cooked the root system. I know this by the smell. It's called perithium. That is the name of the bacteria that eats your roots. Perithium, and it smells like a potato. Not a rotten potato, just a starchy potato. It's got a potato smell, but it's not actually a clean smell either. You can tell so much just by smelling and using your nose as a guide of good bacteria and bad bacteria. I know a lot of people are going to freak out now and go, oh fucking hell, something's really dangerous, you don't want to be sniffing that. It might be dangerous, but also gives me body a bit of practice on that bacteria, which is what we all need. That makes us stronger, fitter and healthier. So have a good sniff of it, see what it smells like. Healthy roots don't smell of nothing. You'll just smell the soil, which should smell nice. So where was I at then? I've smelled the roots. I can smell there's perithium in the roots, and I can smell that there's an issue in the root zone. I've worked out what the issue is, and that's been having hot water in the rhizosphere through small pots and super fucking strong sunshine. So the way I've dealt with that is by putting that plant into a cooler root zone, and a cooler root zone is straight to the earth. You're not going to get anything more perfect than Mother Nature. And this soil is super healthy. I've been on this soil now for 2 years running, so I know how good it is, and I've seen a drastic change in the past 2 years. It's gone from being a sandy, loose, really hard, not living in any way type of soil to being really black and rich and soft and full of bugs and little things. Worms, lots of worms, seen lots of worms today, which makes me very happy. So now I know this area is invented. But there's another thing I've noticed about this area, and that is this part of the garden. So this part of the garden that I'm in here, which is part towards the fence, is a lot drier. The garden is a lot drier. The soil is a lot drier. It's more like this. It's more like this. It's dry. So what I'm finding is there's a lot more ants on this side of the garden, and there's a lot less worms on this side of the garden. So the way I'm going to address that is just put a sprinkling system on this side of the garden, because on the other side of the garden, which is up here, now check this soil out. I've only gone, what, 3 meters? Look at the difference. Look at that. And the only difference is moisture levels. No other reason. This side of the garden gets a lot more water. And I'll tell you why. Up there is a patioed area with a swimming pool up there. So what's happening is when the water's coming down, that's acting as a rooftop, and probably everything off the top of the house as well. It's coming down here, it's coming onto here, and it's draining into here. So probably half of this garden is soaking up all the moisture, and the other half isn't. It's drying out more, because on the other side of the garden we've got a brick wall here which runs to the depth, which runs quite high. You can see how high it runs. So that's getting blasted with sunshine all day, which is making this side of the garden a lot drier. So we've got basically two halves in the same garden of two different types of soil, and a lot more ants on one side, a lot more worms on the other. So I'm going to address that by flooding this side of the garden. I'm going to go and get some sprinklers. I've had the hose pipe on all day. I want to get rid of the ants here, and I want to let the worms migrate over onto this side. So that's what we've learned today. Well, that's what I like to think gardening's all about. Having an open mind and learning from stuff. Whenever you're seeing there's a problem, sit there and work out what the problem is. Same in life, really. So, quick finishing off. I'm going to show you what I'm doing now. Because I'm going to be putting a lot of water on the right hand side of the garden, I'm going to be penetrating that with a lot of water. So what I'd like to do is inoculate some liquid cultures into that. This is a mixture of distilled water, 4% honey, and then a living agar tissue culture from, I'm going to fuck this up if I say the Latin word. Well, fuck it. From mushrooms. Oh, these Latin words do me head in. I'm not Latin, I'm not speaking the words. Mushrooms, worm castings, worm poo from my worm bin. Many benefits to this one. The list is endless. Mixture of leaf litter from the Basque country and some of the favourite gardens I've ever seen. Some lush roots, just because we've got it. Dragonfly earth medicine. These people are unbelievable. Sorry, I got brain freeze. These people are unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. They've got more knowledge than me. They've been on it a lot longer than me. If you want to get into this true living soil and natural gardening, then these are the people to follow. Watch the seminars, watch how they make the products, watch how they live. They're inspirational, they really are. So, herbal foliar spray that we're going to whack on tonight, and some lush roots, which will probably be mycorrhizal, beneficial fungus, stuff like that. More straw, which is going to top dress all the lot. I'm going to go for another layer on between all the on top of the plants, not so much between, because I got a nice layer as it is. So, and then last but not least, probably the most important part of all, a garden plan of what plants are where. This is so important, so important. The amount of times I have tried to garden with labels, the sunshine has fucking melted off the writing. It doesn't matter what I use, I seem to fuck it up. The only way to do this is by doing this way, or taking a picture on your phone, screenshotting it, and writing in on your phone what it is. We've got a few other amendments that I'm probably going to be putting in at some point. Bolted broccoli, oh my god, that's fermenting, that is. I can feel how. Let's hope I took that out. So fermented bolted broccoli, which will be I'm not even going to open that on camera because I reckon it could just pop off like champagne. Fermented broccoli, which is going to be full of nitrogen. It smells like beer. It smells absolutely delicious. That's from a really knowledgeable person. Sorry, a really knowledgeable friend of mine. Forbidden Flowers BCN. I really enjoyed talking to this guy. He's so passionate about ferments, making all his own, making everything, being completely self-sufficient and doing his own thing. I really like him a lot. He's on the same path as me. Well, I should say we're both on the same path. So I think that's it. That is my conclusion for this garden. I'll have a little update in a couple of weeks and see how we are.